All right, folks, we are moving right along. We are going to hear from Ebbe here. He's from Linden Labs. For those of you who don't know Linden, done Second Life, lots of experience in virtual worlds, and done a lot of work in solving some of those problems around those issues, and also user-created content. So lots of experience there. I look forward to hearing from you. So let's welcome him to the stage. Warm round of applause. Here we go.
Thanks, Bruce. Thank you, Bruce. A lot of what we're going to have to deal with going forward in VR is how content's created. Today, it's pretty much constrained to fairly substantial, meaningful engineering organizations with some substantial technical skills. And we obviously want to democratize content to be something that anyone can use. And create experiences. We can look at some other media. We can look at Second Life, which I'll do, and talk about some examples, and then talk a little bit where we'll go from there. I like this quote from Mark. In the future, we will all be able to create spaces and experiences and invite people into those experiences and share those experiences and communicate and have relationships within those experiences. It's not just going to be something that you go and consume by yourself, and it's not going to be something that necessarily someone else created for you. Just like we have our own homes and our own way of dressing, the future in VR is going to allow us to have that level of control over the environment and how we express ourselves. I mean, what would the internet be without these types of services? And the more, I mean, Facebook, Twitter, go on and on. If we didn't have this, it would be a fairly dry place. So we want to make sure that VR also allow people to contribute content, and I mean everybody. In Second Life, it's been proven that it's possible to make it a lot easier than would otherwise would be required to create content. In Second Life, that's been around now for almost 12 years. Everything is user-created. All the content, all the experiences, all the commerce, everything is created by the users. It's, to date, still the most successful virtual world that's ever been created. And last year alone, creators of experiences and content in Second Life redeemed over $60 million. So people are making a living doing this stuff in Second Life. Earlier this year, we made Second Life, well, actually, last year, we made Second Life compatible with the Oculus. So all content in Second Life can be consumed with the Oculus. Now, put an asterisk on that. It's not the best performance, so I'll get more to that later, but it at least let us and creators of all kinds to start to understand what it means to create content and how to experience it by being truly inside versus just looking at it. So what do users create? Entertainment. Lots of games, role-playing communities, clubs, bars, lots of music, lots of dancing, a lot of social elements, but there's some really sophisticated games. And this is a screenshot from one of them that's in Second Life. Professional. Here we see students at Texas A&M. There we go. Learning chemistry inside of Second Life. And they're being A/B tested, the virtual students compared to the real world students. And the results are very promising. In some aspects, the virtual students outperform the physical students. Some aspects they don't perform as well, like the comfort around touching materials and stuff like that, but retention of knowledge there seem to do better. Health. We've heard a lot of that from the panel earlier this morning. The US Army has been in Second Life treating post-traumatic stress disorder. A lot of mental and physical handicaps can be either better understood or give people that have certain handicaps an ability to express themselves or function. If you have no legs in Second Life, you can go dancing. If you are afraid to be in public, you can try that out in a virtual space that might be more comfortable to you. A woman who uses Second Life, an older woman, has Parkinson's, and she finds by doing all these activities, walking, running, swimming, flying, socializing, actually gets her brain going. So now she's actually functioning better in real life. She finds it easier to walk around because she has a way to exercise her brain in the right way. Training, lots of simulations, whether it's how to do crisis management at an oil refinery, how nurses can treat patients that come in with various symptoms, lots of training that otherwise would be prohibitive or extremely expensive or outright dangerous to do unless you could simulate it. And fundraising. This year alone, the American Cancer Society's Relay for Life collected over $400,000 by creating experiences and getting donations inside of Second Life. Social. What Second Life is really good at is, like I said, create a space, bring people into that space, and have them socialize and communicate within that space. We have company meetings inside of Second Life. A company named TechSoup, who works with nonprofits, they've had 7 years running, had a large group of people come together from all over the country and the world, about 30, 40, 50 people meeting once a month. If Second Life didn't exist, they say they would not meet, because there is no other way to do it, unless you want to pay a lot of money for travel. You can't get that many people on Skype and have it make sense. In a virtual space, you can. So a lot of interest groups, churches, communities, music groups, clubs, like I mentioned before. One of my favorites is the space can also be in the past or in the future. You have to imagine the future, but certainly there are spaces that represent the past. There's a group operated by a woman named Jo in Holland called 1920s Berlin. So you can go to Berlin as it sort of looked like in the 20s. And the community there, a fairly rich community, it's about 130 people that are paying residents that pay rent to live in apartments and houses inside that community. And they do a lot of socializing together. You go to the pub and have a beer, and you go dancing at the hotel, and it's a community that can really sort of live that experience. It's also a great training of vehicle, obviously, for people to understand what it was like in a particular time or place. A lot of strong relationships take place in Second Life, whether it's groups or individuals. Yeah, you have occasional in-world marriages and even offline. I mean, that happens in lots of tight communities, but there's something about the connection people can have in virtual space that's really, really strong. And so you see a lot of these really tight relationships form from people from all over the world. Creativity. Tremendous amount of creativity in the arts. You see incredible builds that are, just fascinating three-dimensional animated interactive art. People fashion industry is big, just like in the real world. People want their avatars to look cool. So of that $60 million that people made last year, a lot of that is from the fashion industry. You gotta have cool hair. There's a woman in New Zealand that makes hands and feet for avatars. She makes hundreds of thousands of dollars and feeds her family doing that. You gotta have a cool vehicles, cool home. There's a tree guy. If you want cool looking trees, you talk to the tree guy and get trees from him. Homes and furniture. So there's a huge amount of creativity. Also interesting business models. Land, as we call it in Second Life, that people rent, which are basically simulators running these simulations that the users create, can be expensive for some people. So some people buy a lot of land and divide it up into subdivisions and rent out smaller plots to people. So there's a business models around land. There's certain places people prefer to live, so there's a dynamic pricing depending on sort of your geolocation. A lot of tremendous amount of creativity that takes place, and sometimes it seems to be as varied and as same breadth and depth as here in the real life. So I mentioned that Second Life works in VR. We did more as experiment to understand what would it do to make it work, how would our users use it, how would they understand their own content. I mentioned Jo that did 1920s Berlin. The first time she was inside her own creation, and not just looking at it, but being inside of it. I mean, she cried from just like the emotional, just like, wow, I'm inside this community that I created. But we do have performance issues. We don't have the frame rate in Second Life that you really need. So that's something we'll work on when we start a next generation project I'll talk about in a second. So on the technology side, performance. Another thing we want to tackle, Second Life might have constraints like about 50 to 100 concurrent users on a simulator, and it starts to slow down. One challenge we have is that we don't have full control of the content being created. Users don't necessarily know how to create extremely optimized content that like a gaming studio would. So we have to understand how to deal with suboptimal content and find ways to automatically optimize content. Cost, security, compliance. Compliance is interesting for us because Second Life has a virtual economy with a floating exchange. So you trade your regular currency, US, Euro, whatever, and you buy some Lindens, and you use the Lindens to transact inside of Second Life. The GDP inside of Second Life is about $500 million. And then at the end of the day, if you made some Lindens, you can cash it out and walk away with real money, which I mentioned to the tune of 60 million last year. Well, we got to obviously make sure there's no money laundering or any of those kinds of things going on. So that's quite a complex issue to provide a means for people to make money. Platforms and devices. Here we just heard the talk about yet another platform and yet another set of devices and controllers. How do we make sure that we support as many as possible? But at the same time, there's no obvious winners yet. There's no obvious platforms we have to support or don't have to bother to support. So that's a big thing for us to solve. And probably one of the biggest issues to solve, something that Second Life has a bit of issues with, being 12 years old right now, is ease of use. How do you make it easy to create, and how do you make it easy to consume? How do I easily bring someone into something that I just created? Have a social experience with them, maybe even trade and transact, and then sort of be on our merry way again. It's not that easy. Until more hardware and platforms sort of settle down, it's going to be quite complicated for us and others to solve this problem. So it's not just about shipping a lot of stuff. We got to make sure we get a lot of content. And content is so varied. People in Second Life have theater productions. Who's working on that app? So we need to give the power to every user, to every person, to have the option of creating their own content. and their own experiences together with other people, just like we do in the real world. We do have seen, obviously, in advance of VR even coming. I mean, we could argue that Second Life and Linden Labs have been waiting for VR to happen for the last 13 years, and finally it's about to come. And we have this tremendous amount of experience about it, but we're probably still a few years away from it to really reach the masses, but we'll be ready. So some of the things we're thinking about differently for the next generation product that we've been working about now for about a year. We'll start alpha this summer for a select few users, is areas around discovery. It's difficult to find content in Second Life. Things you might be interested in, it's probably hiding in there somewhere, but it's hard for you to find. Accessibility, how do we make it possible for you to access the content, the community, across various devices and platforms. Scalability, how do we make it possible for you to not just make a community of a few hundred people, but tens of thousands of people. You know, earlier this year, I spoke in front of a group of about 200 people inside of Second Life, in the educators, to educators, and 200 is about what Second Life can take today. But it's totally possible for us to build a platform where that could be in the thousands and ultimately tens of thousands of people that can share a space like this and share an experience. Quality, physics, lighting, scripting, just all kinds of things that if you look at Second Life today might look a little aged, but so we're solving all kinds of problems there. Ease of use, again, huge amount of effort on making it super easy to create and consume. And then monetization. Second Life settled on some business model that has been, you know, quite good for us. I mean, we're over 200 people and we're profitable, and so Linden Lab's doing quite well, but it's not a business model that's likely to scale into the tens of millions or hundreds of millions of users. So we have to think differently about how we monetize these experiences. So there's some thoughts on that should show and prove that it's possible to create a platform that allows for user-generated content and user-generated experiences, very social, with an economy that provides people a means of earning a living. And we're super excited about the next stages of where this can take us now with you know, a huge VR community around us, and look forward to what we can do together. And with that, happy to take questions. And if they kick me off the stage, I'll be right outside to talk to anyone who wants to talk to us about what you can do with us or how we can do things together. So thank you.
I guess. So I'm not an SL user per se. I've been to 1920s Berlin. It's awesome. Joe's awesome. And I think it's amazing that she's going to be able to step into that world in a really easy way. For me, ease of use is super important. Something that you guys obviously know is a challenge for SL right now. I didn't really get a sense, I don't think, about what the Project Sensor is. Can you explain that? Just wrap it up for a non-world user, if you will.
Okay. So we're building a virtual experience platform from the ground up. Everything we're building is new. Right now, we've done, you know, basics of networking. We've got, you know, physics and lighting and the fundamentals of scripting and a lot of the components that we need to do an extremely modern, highly scalable platform in the spirit of Second Life, but like I mentioned, some fairly significant differences in the areas of ease of use, performance, quality, scale, and also ultimately cost for users. So People should be able to create experiences that are way, way bigger, higher concurrency, and make even more money. Our goal is to make that 60 million that creators made last year seem like a puny number by enabling people from all over to create fantastic experiences that can attract audiences more directly into their experiences as well. Today, people create great experiences, but they're sort of hidden inside of this walled garden called Second Life. And with the next platform, we want to make it easier for people to bring traffic and customers directly into their experiences from the outside world. So we do not call it Second Life 2.0. It probably would make too many assumptions about how similar or how linear the progression from Second Life to this next platform would be. So we refrain from calling it Second Life 2.0, and actually we just announced that we're calling it, a code name right now, Project Sansar. Final name is TBD, but it's not going to be Second Life 2.0. And also because Second Life is an extremely healthy, highly functional platform right now, and users are on that platform, and these two platforms will be side by side for a long time. It would create a lot of confusion if there was like 1.0 and 2.0 side by side for a period of time. All right? Cool. Thanks, Bruce.
Fantastic. Great to hear about the new things going on with Second Life. Like you said, these guys have had a lot of experience building a community and economy in a virtual world, and really excited to see how that moves and transitions into virtual reality.